Talk to this
All
guy,
right,
Tom. Just look at this guy and pretend like you have an audience of one. Just right, this guy.
that's amazing. I like your tongue, buddy. Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross, and I'm the founder at designcuts.com. And this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and hand lettering expert, Ian Barnard, American retro design expert, Dustin Lee, and the incredibly talented South African illustrator, Lisa Glanz. This week we're talking about how to ensure that you're targeting your ideal clients rather than targeting your peers. We've had several listeners asking us about this, as their content on social media and beyond seems to be attracting other creatives rather than the paying clients they actually want. We drop our 2 cents on this issue and try to advise on the best course of action to attract the people you really need for your creative business. So without further ado, let's get into the show. So this week we're talking about targeting your ideal clients or targeting your peers. And what I mean by this is we've had a few questions through from people along the lines of, I'm an illustrator, I'm a letterer, I'm a designer, and I'm putting out social media content, I'm putting out marketing, I'm trying to reach my clients. But by putting out all my work and all my content, I'm actually only seeming to attract my peers. So I'm attracting other designers, other creatives, instead of clients and potential clients. And I think this is an incredibly common thing. Obviously, anything we're creating, we're putting it out on Instagram, we're slapping on a few creative hashtags, and invariably it's going to be people with similar interests to what you're making who resonate with it, who start following you. And you go down the rabbit hole of, well, that feels good, I'm getting a bunch of likes, but suddenly reality kicks in. I need to be running a business, I need to be making money out of my creative skills, and no one following me seems to want to actually buy my work. They're not a client, they're a fellow creative. So, in fact, first of all, should have done an intro here. Welcome back to Mr. Dustin Lee.
Way! Clap, 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 clap,
Yay! Woo-hoo!
Oh, I love you guys. I would kiss you all on the lips.
Well, save it for when we finally meet, buddy.
Yes.
Oh, I will. I will.
It's going to be emotional.
Wait for...
Lisa's like, no, please don't do that. And Tom's like, no. Ian's like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'll just watch.
Yeah.
Sorry, that got weird.
In all seriousness, it's great to be back. It's great to see you guys. Missed you guys.
We missed you
We
too.
missed you too.
The show was literally not the same without you. In fact, let's call it the dark weeks. No, Dustin.
Let's. I like that. I like that.
Trying times.
It's called.
Cool. So, Dustin, I guess on your return, do you want to kick off on this topic?
Oh gosh, not really.
Oh, hold on. Feeling a bit rusty, are we?
Yeah, I literally don't know what to say.
I like that.
I can kick in if you want, and then he could be curious about my statements.
Okay,
Right.
that's the usual. Oh, yeah, I forgot the dynamic. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Usually, Lisa that starts, I sort of talk about half an hour later.
Yeah, and then I just do the intro, and an hour later I'll come back and sign off.
Yeah.
Leave you guys to it.
Sometimes their whole episodes happen. I'm like, is Ian going to say anything?
I found that. I was like, come on, I'm sure I said something.
It'll be like 46 and a half minutes in, and you'll be like, knowledge bomb.
Yeah.
And just come in with the golden
Literally.
nugget.
Tom came up with one the other day.
Oh, what was it?
Yeah, it was.
It was a
Don't
really
ask me
good
what
one.
It was.
Oh yeah, it was, and I was going to letter it, but I haven't done it yet. It was consume less.
Create more.
No, was it complain less? I was going to say complain more.
Oh, yeah, it was like 4 parts, right?
Yeah,
Consume
two of them
less.
both started with a C. Compare.
Yeah. Compare less,
Less.
complain less.
No, consume less.
Yeah.
Consume less, compare
We're really
less,
nailing
complain
this, aren't
less.
we?
Yeah.
This is scintillating content for the
Create
listeners.
more and play more. I edited the last one because the other one had 2. We had 3 words in everything I had to do. So
Okay,
anyway,
I'm sure that'll look better with your beautiful lettering than the 3 of us fumbling over delivering it. But yes, take it away, Ian. What do you think on this topic?
So for it, I like. Let me talk about my experience as I've gone through sort of because most of my work comes through Instagram, a bit through YouTube now, but most of it through Instagram. But the way that actually my business has changed as my products have changed, or what I'm offering has changed. The sort of brand hasn't. The brand working with brands hasn't changed, but the working with who my audience is has changed. So when I first started doing products, they were mainly aimed at designers, whether that was fonts or whether that was texture packs. And so, yeah, and some of my audience is made up of that. So I was focusing on that primarily. But then once Procreate came out and the iPads was becoming more popular, I started doing Procreate brushes, which is actually less about designers and more about just the hobbyist or other letterers. And so that then changed over to actually the other part of my audience, which is that were buying my products. And so that my content would slightly change, orientating what I was doing, maybe showing more behind the scenes of what the Procreate stuff was doing rather than the other design products.
And sorry, just to jump in for a second, mate.
Yep.
So 2 takeaways there, I guess, are one is that your peers can be your customers.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that your content doesn't have to completely drastically change, but small nuances can shift the desired audience. So at the end of the day, you're still putting out creative content in every scenario, but by shifting into different elements of that, your audience will shift to.
Yes, definitely. And,
Cool.
you know, there are transitions between designers and letterers and hobbyists all, you know, consuming those type of products. But in terms of like working with other companies, you know, small and big, it's actually doing work that is based around what those companies are after. So some of my posts, which haven't been that popular, like not many likes, not many comments, have actually been the posts that like agencies that work with brands. One of the designers might be following me and they said, "Oh, we really want you to come on board for this piece we're doing for whoever. Really like these few posts that you've done." They picked out a load and they're like not very well performing posts, but they align more with what they're after than like,
Do you mind sharing some examples?
So I did like a few where I either wrote round the outside of a person or on the person's face with like different styles of lettering.
Yeah. I remember.
You know, one of the posts was a Martin Luther King one, and it was the right time. That did all right, but the other one, which was just another quote back experience, it didn't really do that well. But when they gave me the mood board, those were the two of the prominent pieces that they were after, and so, and that was what the final piece looked like, because I had to draw around the outside of a person, you know, words that they gave me. So that was like one of them, and other ones were just sort of, just when I've done like a maybe just a more of a logo style of thing, like a couple of words rather than a whole piece that's really nicely orchestrated. Something that works like for, so there's the sort of jobs I get doing are either sort of logo design, so it might be something they've seen that I've done a logo for, which doesn't normally get as much interaction. The thing is, the things that get likes and comments are usually things which maybe I was talking about my personal experience and it's a quote that backs that up.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing something, oh, here's a logo I did for whoever, hand-drawn logo, you know, fair enough, it doesn't get as many likes or maybe comments, but it shows my work. And so my feed will be taken up with doing all those elements. So I'll have a quote one day, maybe I might have a really crisp vector logo or vector few words. And I mix it up because then it gives whoever's looking at it opportunity to see what, you know, especially because people are looking through loads of feeds, they want to be able to see in like the top 9 posts roughly what you're on about. So having a variety of stuff, keeping your style, but having a variety of stuff that they think, okay, they don't just do, quotes over a photo, or they don't just do brush script. They might do other styles as well. So it
makes you more commercially relevant for more potential brands and clients, right? Where they're like, he can do stuff involving products, he can do brand and logo design, he can do poster stuff. As you said, if you only did one thing, you're really limiting the pool of potential clients.
Yeah, and a practical to help with practicality on that. What do I do? You might be thinking, how do I do that, or how do I come up with posts that are going to be beneficial to me? There's a few sites you can go on. There's one called Brand New on the underconstruction.com website, which shows, if you're like a logo designer, that has has the before and after of all the main logos that have been rebranded recently. And so you can go on there and see, because it might be the case, you look on there and you think, actually, I'm doing logos in an old style of a company that's just been rebranded. So maybe if I start doing them in what that logo, that sort of style that seems to be on trend. So that's one way. And there's another one called Design Week, where it shows packaging design. If you want to get in that, you can see what people are doing. And it's just trying to find the trends of, like, maybe you want to do poster design. So you look at what the trends are with that, see what companies have done recently, see what Nike's done, see what, a clothing brand might have done. And then what you do is you make that your own. So whether it's like a rough brush script over a photo of a NFL player, do something in your style of that sort of thing. So, and it's just building up that body of work. I think it really works if you do. Instagram obviously is a great one to do it, and Behance is another one, and Dribble. Those are like, I think Facebook is. I don't think I can't remember any time getting any like companies asking me to do work through Facebook, because I don't think they're on there. I think like even LinkedIn would be a great place if you were constantly on there, because there's companies there that, people who need to source people. So if you're on there all the time showing before and after maybe of a company who's been to you and what you've done for them, that would be quite good.
Turn it into more of an article format than just the image. And I think there's more white space on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, I still don't understand it. And I think, for like, if I do some more sort of mural work, I think it would be a brilliant place for me to go on. But I'm scared of it, because it's just not, it's not like all the other social platforms for some reason. It just seems a bit, it's like walking into a room full of people with suits on. I'm like, I feel a bit underdressed. So
I think there's some really, really good thoughts there. I think it's worth touching on the likes versus money from clients. They're different metrics. I would argue it all depends on what your goals are. I would say typically people put too much value on likes and probably not enough focus on the client money. Personally, I would rather get 20% of the likes of Bob down the road, but be raking in client money if he's making nothing. And just getting the likes, but we're in this culture which encourages likes. Everyone wants to look cool. And I think when I've received this question from a few people and they're like, I want to get clients, but I'm, currently attracting my peers, I think in a weird way they quite enjoy attracting their peers, because they're the ones who are like engaging a lot. They're the ones where it feels nice to get 500 designers saying, hey, great logo redesign, leaving you nice comments and appreciating it because they understand the design. And that's fine. That's great. But realize there's a disconnect. That is totally separate from really building a business. Ian, you're slightly different because you're almost brand building. You're not like all about trying to get client work. You're trying to actually build up something bigger with regards to your content. If your sole and primary goal was to get client work, your feed would probably look very different, where every single post was less artistic and more about brand, commercial application, and showing examples. And if you did that, you'd probably get 10 to 20 times the amount of client inquiries, because it would all be geared towards that. But that's not your long-term vision.
Yeah, and I suppose my feed's not the best to look at for that, because I suppose I don't take on that much client work. And then the time I work with brands is for like Instagram stories, and it's more of a sponsored content. So Whereas, so the sponsored content is like this weird thing where you're getting sponsored to then deliver to the value to your audience. So it's like you're working with a brand and you're working with your audience because you're maybe offering something for, like for instance, I do a lot of work with Skillshare and promote that on my Instagram stories. And so they get the bonus of like a couple of months free when that pops up. But then I get the payment for putting that out there. So it's sort of, that is the advantage of sort of if you wanted to build an audience, but then you're building an audience is not focusing on brand, pushing yourself out to companies. That's pushing yourself out to an audience and building relationships, and you build that through, your the content bit, the content and the description and your experience and, people getting to know you. Whereas I suppose companies can be just like a one-off, really like the style, let's get in contact with them and get them on board. So it's a different, you have to think, like you say, you have to think about what your end goal is, what you're trying to achieve, because then you have to work at it.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting because I think most of us have gone to some conferences and different events where you get to talk to a lot of different designers. And my experience has been a shocking one at that my heroes, the people, and I'm not going to name any names, but I could name names all day, of people that have massive followings that are extremely talented designers that me and I could name to you and you guys would probably know, are oftentimes struggling to get by. I mean, this is really, really common. I hear about this constantly. I'm talking to designers and they're famous essentially to other designers and they're not making barely any money. They're barely getting by. And then that happened at a conference. I talked to a lot of guys like that. Then there was this guy, I don't even remember his name, to be honest with you. He was killing it, making a ton of money. He had like an assistant working under him and he was making a killing. And it was because he was just doing work for real clients, making the money.
Yeah.
People didn't know his name. I had never heard of him. When you looked on his social media, you would not suspect that he was doing so well. But I think that's the difference is,
I love that though.
I think it's worth considering that where customers come from, the medium isn't necessarily social media. A lot of this might be coming from meeting them on their ground at conferences related to their industry or through emails or through whatever.
I think we touched on this before, is that if there's an area that you want to work with, we mentioned like, if you wanted to be websites for churches or for doing logo designs for, I don't know, private healthcare, whatever it may be, that you then go, you try and book yourself into a conference for that thing and be like, set up a stall giving away freebies. And you say, look, I do design for churches. That's all I do.
Yes.
And imagine how many people there at that conference who were like, well, I need a website and you seem to be a specialist in it because you've come.
Well, exactly.
I'll tell you what, a conference might cost $1,000 to go to, but you go to that conference, there's going to be almost nobody there, if anybody, that's actually a designer or a web designer if you have a niche and you go to it, because no one's going. They're all going to design conferences to each other off.
Oh my God. Oh, excuse you.
Giving Marco something to cut out there. Cut that out.
Yeah, I think that's freaking genius as a strategy. I know it would work, but I'm kind of laughing internally at the dynamic of how that would play out. Like, say you're at a church conference and it's like, and tell me, how do you feel about the Lord, my son? Fancy a logo, mate? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you'd really kind of stick out, but
But even
sure
at a church conference, though, like there's consultants selling services on how do I grow my congregation.
yes.
I mean, and these are marketing people. So there's all sorts of people at these.
True.
But isn't this all going back to what we preach over and over and over again? Is that your portfolio and the things you post should be the work that you want to get. So if you're just posting for your peers, then you're going to attract peers. That's, if you're posting for clients, that's the kind of work that you're going to get. So I know that seems like easier said than done, but ultimately that's probably the difference between your example, Dustin, of the guy who, he probably wasn't that into his social media because his focus was on his clients and getting clients work and conferences and, all that kind of stuff. He wasn't running around making these beautiful Facebook and Instagram and, I don't know, dribble posts. I don't know. I just
I got a quote for you, super quick.
yeah.
And then, sorry, keep going, Lisa. On Dustin's friend example, real earnings don't come from ego.
No, exactly. That actually sums it up perfectly. I think we get trapped in this whole thing of you want to look good on on all the social platforms. So you start spending too much time. I don't know. I'm not saying everybody is, but I'm just saying you could be falling to the trap of spending too much time on looking good in your posts instead of actually thinking, is this going to actually translate into getting me work down the line?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the same. Can I just say it's the same as being in the playground at school, where you want to be accepted in sort of the cool gang, the cool kids, stuff like that. Even though
they're not really nice people.
They're not really nice people, and it's just the impression that you get. I'm not saying that you're all like designers, all the other designers like they're bullies, that cool bullies, but you've got this sense of I want to be over here, but you have more fun with the people that are like you.
Yeah.
Or, so, we can get into that sort of, we want to be, recognized by those above us, those who are really nailing it at their game. But what they are not going to be the people who pay for your bills. They're not going to be the people who, get you work. They're not going to give you work. So I think it's sort of shifting your mindset, actually shifting your focus to, it's the people who, the people that follow me, I need to provide for them, or it's, the people at the agencies, I need to provide for those people.
Yeah.
And that's who I need to hang around with. And I suppose, relationships are still so important, in-person relationships, because they are the people who will get you jobs. If they have you on your mobile, I know, I'll get Ian to do some custom layering. He's my mate, rather than randomly searching for someone who can do some lettering. They're going to go, actually, really like his lettering. He's a mate. Give him a call, see if he's free. That's the sort of thing you still need to do. So, and, making relationships. Like we said, with, going to a conference and setting up store and say, look, this is what I do. And just speaking to people and building relationships. And through those relationships, you'll get other jobs and stuff like that.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
But I do think you can have a balance. I think it boils down to what we were all saying earlier on is, what is your goal? What's your end goal? I think you can actually balance both. You can, appeal to your peers as well as your clients. But I think then, if you find that your businesses or your followers are changing in terms of too many peers, you can also harness that. There's a lot of letterers out there that I'm sure you know of, Ian, that actually their whole business now is about learning, teaching. They probably started out doing lettering for clients, got so much, traction on social media from other letterers, and then decided to, hey, why don't I teach? And now that's probably what they do full time. So, you can harness that as well, if that's your bag. But if it's not, and you'd rather still want to stick to the client work, then you've got to start appealing to them, what you put out. And
something related to that interesting, I've noticed is I just picked up this book. What's it called? Things Are What You Make of Them by Adam J. Kurtz. And in it, it's just, it's very light on content.
Love that you brought a book, by the way. We've been devoid of literature since you've been off the show.
Because none of us read.
No, we're all thoroughly illiterate.
This is literally childlike writing. It's not exactly literature, but in it, he writes down some of his fears, and one of his fears, because this guy's essentially selling books and popular on Instagram, and one of his fears is, am I really still a designer? He writes. And I think we have the opportunity, guys, to invent a new word, because there's now these people who they call themselves designers. They want to be designers, but they almost need to let go of it, because the reality is that they're not designers. They're not like just people for designers. It's like they're not artists totally. It's like almost like Why do I have that scowl on my face?
You mean like the motivational quote people?
Yeah, it's like they're making art, but they're mixing it with motivation, like Ian stuff. I don't look and go, oh, Ian's a designer. I think he's a person creating content. Yeah, he does some design work, but it's just this content that kind of inspires you, or it might interest different little segments of people.
I thought you were talking in the negative for a minute. You were like trying to think of a derogatory term for these people.
No. I just mean it's like this new
That's...
artist, designer, hybrid, motivational person.
Yeah.
Cretins.
Creates things.
We call them cretins. Is that right?
Let's try a couple more first. That doesn't really.
No? Okay, sorry.
I'm fizzling off my tongue.
I'm a bit rusty on the old branding. I'm struggling here. I was thinking along the lines of like motivartists or something.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's getting there.
It's really not. This is like Chandler and Friends. Cheese. It's milk. You chew.
Someone brilliant will respond to this recording when they hear it and tell us
what it's called. What are they called?
And then we will steal the credit for ourselves, and we will never give them credit.
Yes, never.
My friends, am I right? Just joking.
Love the evil laugh.
Yeah.
By the way, for anyone,
didn't sound put on.
no, it's your authentic self coming out.
Yeah.
Apologies for anyone watching the YouTube show this week. By the way, I look like a freaking ninja or something. I've been moving around my office week on week. All these guys have a nice little home studio. We've got a glass-fronted office where it's like a pane of light across my eyes, and the rest of me shrouded in dust. Got like a throwing star down here.
Well, you normally look sort of angelic. So today you've got that sort of,
normally it's annoying when I sit over there. So I thought I'll move over here. It will be much better. And now I'm looking at you through a letterbox or something.
Tom, it looks like you broke into like a car rental office and you're secretly doing the podcast there while they're closed.
Yeah. Shh.
That's good.
All right. So I've mentioned this guy a couple of times on the podcast, and he is a listener. So hey Jake, if you're listening, but Jake Fry, however you say it, Jake Fry Designs, and he's on Instagram, and his whole feed is basically these logo redesigns. For me, that is such a perfect example of client attracting work that is still creative, still gets followed by a lot of peers. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. He gets the ego stroke of other designers being like, oh, I love this is great. But for clients who are looking for that style of work, it's basically demonstrating what you can do. It's showing the variety of what you can do, like Ian said, where different clients want different types of, different types of work from you. So there is a lot of angles, and I don't think we can say it enough. Again, as Ian said, like just think about what you actually want. I think so many people don't bother to figure that out and then reverse engineer from there. Actually stop and think, what do I want? Do I want the likes and recognition, or do I want the money? If I want both, which one do I want more? I think oftentimes when people really get down to it, they want the money more, and their actions aren't reflecting that. Their work isn't reflecting that. So just sit and like we're doing it right now at Design Cuts, right? We thought like, okay, what do we really want in terms of branding, blah, 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 with our social media content? So we just sat in a meeting room, whiteboarded it, had a complete content refresh, and we're rolling out the new content soon, and we're going to see how that does. You can do the same thing as a designer. Just take a step back for once instead of just churning stuff out thoughtlessly. Think about what you want, and then have a bit of a brainstorm, and I guarantee you'll come up with some fresh ideas that reflect that goal better.
And there's nothing wrong with having your business, your kind of graphic design feed quite businessy and attracting clients. And then if you really like desperate to still share more creative stuff and stuff that you think isn't really work orientated but is more peer orientated, there's nothing wrong with having a second account for that, if you still want to do that. But I think you can definitely have them both if you want to, but as you said, Tom, I think you have to figure out what it is what's your end goal. And if you still feel like you want to do the other stuff, there's nothing wrong with having two feeds. I mean, two accounts, whatever.
I actually think Sorry, Lisa. Go on.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna say that would kind of like solve the whole still want the ego stroke mixed with, getting the work out. So yeah.
I agree to an extent. I also think though that actually a lot of the client focused stuff is probably more intriguing, ironically, to your peers, because I think there's a proliferation of the stuff that's meant to get likes. How many motivational quotes do we see that have been added? How many similar drawings, bits of art on social
Yeah.
media do we see? An absolute ton. So I personally find it refreshing where I see something from a designer like Jake, who's doing a logo redesign project and a brand refresh. Like if Ian does like a different style of work, which, the lettering around the head or whatever it might be. I enjoy seeing stuff as a designer where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I can totally imagine that in the real world, or that being used by a big brand or whatever. That isn't necessarily a turnoff to me. A turnoff is actually what everyone thinks is going to engage more. But I'm like, oh, there's another one. Zone out. I become like blind to it.
True.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's worth really thinking about what you truly want. I think we're horrible. I'm horrible at this, and I think other people are horrible at it too. You think, well, I want to make money, and so you sacrifice the happiness of doing the work you want to do because you feel like you need to make money, and then you make more money than you need, and then you realize that actually didn't make you happy. It would have been made you happy if you had just been making the art you wanted to make, or vice versa, or maybe you keep making art you want to make, and it turns out that you needed more money. I guess the point is you can't just decide, oh, I'm going to do this or that without
a purpose.
Without taking a serious consideration of, will this make me happy, and why am I doing this? Where is this path leading me? You choose something, but where is it leading you? Where will that lead you in 2 years if you do that, or a year, however long? We're so bad at thinking about where things are bringing us that we end up traveling down these crazy paths. And when we get there, we're like, well, where the hell is this? Why am I here? I didn't even want this.
Yeah.
Right. And I suppose something I had the other day is like, would you be prepared to sacrifice like going to a smaller home so that you could do more of the work you love?
Yes.
And
absolutely.
In a hobby.
And if you're a better dad or better boyfriend or whatever it may be, because you don't have to then work the however many hours to keep up the bills on the bigger things and the car and the all these things
it boils down to life priorities, I guess. What's important to you.
I totally understand as well. You got to put food on the table, look after your family. Obviously that stuff has to come first. But after a certain point where it's just kind of money for money's sake, or that bit extra or whatever, it can be incredibly empowering to reject that. And to give you guys an example, my old Photoshop blog that I was running, I hated running ads on it. They sat really badly. I didn't really like that. But they were making like $800 to $1,000 a month at their peak. And I suddenly just one day looked at them and went, screw you ads. I hate you cluttering up my blog. And I just took them down. And suddenly I had this kind of financial gap in what I was doing. And at this point, I really was not like in that strong a financial position. That was probably a pretty horrible decision. But it felt so empowering just to be like, that's better. That sits better with me.
It's getting rid of the clutter, isn't it? Literally.
And you'd be amazed what a bit of focus can do. Where you almost have that spring clean, even if some of it is cleaning out money you're making, but it sits better with you, and you're like, actually, now I'm going to go all in on the balance where hopefully it's going to bring me money, and I'm going to feel comfortable and happy in myself doing it.
I had heard that reminded me of who said it? I think it was Warren Buffett who had said it. He was talking. No, it was Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio. He's an investor in the United States, and he had said that he'd put number one friends above money, even though he's super rich. And the reason he said it was because he said the whole point of getting money in the end for him personally was maybe to buy cars, to buy things, to do this. But why was he doing all those things? It was in the end because he realized it was because he wanted people to like him and he wanted friends. And so he realized because of that, having the friends was worth more money than the money. right? So, and I guess I think of that like when you're talking about, Tom, like your blog when you were doing that, like if the ads are bringing in money, but it's making it miserable or making you not feel good about what you're doing, well, isn't that what the point of the whole thing was in the first place?
Yeah.
Aside, the money is to get you there, but the money just extracted you from even being in the place you wanted to be. It's like this crazy
paradox,
sickness, or it's weird.
Which is weird.
100%. Just thinking back to your guy at the conference, Dustin, personally, I love that kind of thing of like the seemingly underdog guy who's killing it compared to the guys in the limelight. I have something in me where I like that underdog David versus Goliath thing.
Me
and
too.
I like the understated thing as well. I've got a real weird thing in me where I will like to be the guy in the room who looks like the least successful, and you've got all the people there who are like got the fancy sports cars on loans and the expensive clothes and all the rest of it, and they're all trying to shout about how successful they are, and I can just kind of quietly sit back and be like, I'm killing you at this, but I don't need to shout about it. Is that sick and wrong? Like,
No.
maybe?
No,
I love it.
But isn't that the worst feeling though? Because I've caught myself before bragging about myself. I didn't realize at the time, but I'm sure I was thinking I'm so great. And then the person you're talking to is like, "Oh, I am this person," and then you are
feel so
ashamed of
small.
yourself. You realize what a fool you've made of yourself. That you should have kept your mouth shut and listened more and been a little more humble.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, obviously be humble, obviously be a nice person, but yeah, I just like, it's fine if the people who are really in the limelight and getting all the attention are decent people, but I just love the thought of like that conference you're at. If one of these people was a douchebag and he is like lapping up all this attention and and the guy's kind of quietly in the sidelines being like,
Right,
knowing that he's doing a better job.
they're just listening. They're listening and taking it all in, and yeah, they're not worried about it.
Can I ask a question? Can
Are you curious?
be?
Are you curious about something?
This is a question. Can you be an unsuccessful entrepreneur?
Yes.
But I thought because it seems like the success of an entrepreneur needs to be that you've earned some money. But can you be an entrepreneur and not earn money?
Yeah, what's the definition of an entrepreneur?
No.
I don't know. You tell me.
I would say essentially someone who sells shit for money themselves instead of.
I think
like,
entrepreneur doesn't have to necessarily own a business.
No, but
So?
it could be like freelancing is technically a business. Like if you're a designer, you work for an agency, you're not an entrepreneur.
I feel like inherently being an entrepreneur means taking more of a leap of faith or a risk than just, for instance, if I started a McDonald's franchise and purchased into it, I guess technically I'm an entrepreneur. I can say that, but I consider much more to be an entrepreneur with someone like any of you are more entrepreneurs in the sense that you took a risk. You had to walk across the invisible
I think
bridge,
it's more that.
like in Indiana
Yes.
Jones. You know.
Mm.
Yeah, 100%. But what I'm getting at is, for me, I think the guy with the full-time job who is flipping items on eBay at the weekend is an entrepreneur, even if it's a part-time one. You guys
Agreed.
doing client work, I think, would be entrepreneurs. If you run a website and sell digital products, you're entrepreneurs. If you run a business and have a team, you're an entrepreneur. For me, it kind of all falls under the same umbrella. But yeah, I think you can be a bad entrepreneur. You can be an unsuccessful entrepreneur. You could sell very little. You could go out of business. You could do a shitty job at doing business the right way and treat people horribly.
I think that the reason why I say is because you always see these like Facebook videos coming up where like, I'm an entrepreneur here in my back garden, which is like a massive swimming pool.
Right.
And I was like, but
Those are so cheesy.
You talking about Ty Lopez? Just got back from riding my Lamborghini through the Hollywood hills, but you know what's more valuable than that? My bookshelf right here.
Well, there you go.
I thought you were talking about your own bookshelf there, Dustin.
I could be. Maybe.
You must be a serious contender with Ty Lopez's bookshelf.
Please don't think that. Need a Ty Lopez. I mean, no offense. Ty Lopez is pretty cool, but
Is he?
I don't know. I think he seems kind of interesting. I don't
Did,
know. That's a whole different episode if we want to talk about Ty Lopez. But you know, the guy Michael Gerber who wrote the E Myth, which the E stands for entrepreneur, his definition, and I kind of disagree with it, but his definition is to be an entrepreneur, you have to have created a system where you can walk away from it and it continues to operate without you and generate money.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think all the people out there hustling and working for themselves count as entrepreneurs. They're working super hard. Dustin, did you ever see on my Instagram I posted that alter ego of like parodying those people?
But no.
Were you in the car park at the time?
Yeah, I was sat in the car. Hold on, let me play it out loud. It's ridiculous, but it's like hopefully quite accurate. Hey everyone, I'm sat here in my brand new Lamborghini and I'm about to pop upstairs to tend to my horde of newbar young supermodels in a moment. You see, I'm rich and you're not. My life's awesome and yours isn't, but I'm going to help you get there today. If you've been following my content lately, you'll know that for the past 3 weeks or so, I've actually been bringing you value, which is why now is the perfect time for me to sell you on my cash money system. You see, the reason you're not as awesome as I am is you're missing out on the 3 pillars to success. But don't worry, today I'm going to share with you pillar number 1, and that is you've got to believe to succeed. That's right, believe to succeed. It just goes on like that, but I'm trying to...
I would actually maybe buy that.
Yeah.
I want to know the other 2 pillars. I feel like maybe 5 pillars would have been stronger because 3 pillars doesn't really hold something up very well. You need at least 4.
Exactly. No, I think it was that. It was like, if you want the final pillar, then just wait.
Exactly. Oh, that's classic.
You should do that as a side thing, like a Tony Robbins type.
Yeah.
You might be good at that.
I got a bunch of comments where people didn't get it was a joke, and they were like, really, ick. But anyway, that was a very random tangent. But I guess the point is, don't go chasing all of that crap. Like, if you're worried about who am I targeting and likes and all of that stuff, like, just if you're worried about getting clients, go and get clients. Like, first of all, realize it's bigger than your social media feed and how many likes you're getting. Go actually pitch clients and build a business. And then that will give you interesting stuff to share on social media. Look at me, I'm a happy designer who's got a real business running here. I'm going to share that with the world. It should happen that way around, not the other way around, in terms of like, I've got a bunch of likes and I'm going to try and extract something of meaning from that.
And to add to that, remember too, you see the people on social media because they're on social media, but remember, like, there's so many people out there that are killing it, making incredible artwork, doing neat stuff in their own studios that they love with like a small group of people that see it and they're making a killing. They're doing it and you never hear about them because they're not putting it on social media. And it's okay to be one of those people. You can be one of those people that only a few people know
Unspoken champions.
They're all out there. They're all out there killing it. A bunch of them are listening to us, laughing at us right now.
And like we said before, it only takes a small engaged audience to be able to make a living. You know, the whole selling something once a month for $5, and you might have, 1,000 people who are really engaged with your content, and that's quite a lot of money. You know, and that's just one product a month. You know, and you don't have, if you think about all the other products that you might release and stuff like that. So.
Ian, remember you've told this story a couple of times. In fact, I think it's a large part of the reason you built this beautiful structure that is making everyone feel uncomfortably envious. You talked about that when you were a teenager, right? Your friend's dad was a designer, right?
Yeah.
And he had an amazing little studio in his backyard.
Yep.
I don't think it's a coincidence that now you are a designer and have an amazing little studio in your backyard. But I bet you anything that guy didn't have a fraction of the people that knew about him that you do. And you know what? You still saw him and you thought, that's such a cool life. That's so amazing that he's doing that. How neat. Yep. And how many people knew about that? Maybe the people that were his neighbors or his son's friends. I mean, that guy killed it,
and
right?
the thing is, and and it wasn't what type of house they had or the type of car. It was the fact that he had time to come out and go mountain biking with us.
Yeah.
or he had time for me to sit with him and ask him questions about what he was doing, and that was the thing that really inspired me to want it. It wasn't to earn a ton of money, because and that was never like I would have got into a different type of work if I wanted it for the money, because I don't consider going into graphic design something that you think, I'm going to make a ton of money from. It's something that I like.
Lisa.
Hey. No.
But back then, I didn't know about Lisa or any other similar Lisa-ism people. I only knew about a couple of art directors that seemed to earn a lot of money but didn't really design anything.
But also looked really unhappy. Every art director I ever met seemed stressed and unhappy. So
always they had like a mental breakdown, and I'm like,
exactly.
I had no desire to be an art director. I just wanted to be a designer and make stuff.
Yeah.
And it's always been the case. And now I'm more of a letterer and I want to make stuff. So it hasn't really changed.
You're like a kid in a candy shop. You've got your new studio. I feel like this is kind of coming towards like a solid ending note for this episode. It's the unsung heroes out there who could be in some great office cubicle. So like literally doesn't matter about the likes and the peers and all of that nonsense. Like you're there, like getting to draw or create pretty things or design for a living.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. And not everyone needs to be Aaron Draplin. Not everyone needs to even be us with our small podcast, which has a loyal following. Like, might not be the biggest thing in the world, but that's not for everyone. You don't just because some people are doing it, you don't need to be getting your face on your Instagram stories constantly. If that's not you, you don't need to have a podcast. You don't need to go to every design conference. No. You can just have your nice little space and sit there and do things on your schedule and get to make art for a living.
That's
Isn't
right.
that nice?
If you can trick people into paying you to do something you love, you're winning.
and exactly. The payment for the studio didn't come from any likes. Like I had to upgrade my camera from YouTube with the money that I made from YouTube, which take a long time. I had a £250 camera for 6 years doing YouTube stuff before I had enough money to upgrade it to a slightly better one for like a few £100. So it all comes, and likes didn't buy the studio. That was all through the products I'd made, through the websites I made like 5 years ago. This is sort of saying over like an 18-year project. And so, yeah.
How much do you reckon of that studio was built by the typography grid builder?
I like that.
Yeah, do you look at 2 walls out of the 4?
Yeah, that was Grid Builder.
I put a little plaque on it. Grid Builder, chalk dust.
You should letter that someday and just like break it all out into different pieces.
It'd be like a pie chart, but my studio broke it up into,
That's cool.
That would be fascinating.
So I know I'm a little older, so social media and websites weren't like a major thing, but they were there.
What colour TVs?
Colour TV.
Not once you started.
You're almost as old as me, Ian.
Oh, he's done you.
Yeah. But for example, I had a freelance business for 10 years or even longer. I can't even remember. And I did not have a website. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't have anything. I just had me, my business card, and my work.
You're like the Theresa May of design.
Oh, no.
No, you weren't, Lisa.
Sorry, I'm kidding. That's far too harsh.
But Lisa, you were that person though. You were that person like we're talking about, who very few people knew about,
and
but you had people that loved
sitting
you.
in my office, yes.
And you were their special hidden secret when it came to design and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And I never, we've spoken about this before. I never had to go look for work. Once initially I did that, but once I was established, there it was.
So can you attest to all people that there's equal benefits to the glamorous public life, that perceived public life you live now, and when you were more of a design monk, living peacefully?
I still feel like I am a bit of a monk in that way, because As we all know, I'm terrible at social media. I literally only have an Instagram account, and even that I struggle to maintain. But that's it. That's me.
And thank you for posting parts of your actual life as well. That was really
Yeah, that
it's
was
cool.
yeah.
And then it just made us even more jealous.
Dustin, I've literally have just gone back through 4 years of my Facebook feed there, because you said something about like enjoying what you're doing or something like that, and it kind of twigged something in my memory about what a customer shared on our company Facebook page, and I just had to share it with you guys. So it's this nice kind of artistic graphic that our in-house person did, and we used to ask questions to our community, and it just says written on a page, "What are you terrible at but truly enjoy doing?" And it's just, I have to shout him out. It's Keith Schaefer, who's a design cutter, who just says, "Well, perhaps not appropriate, but sadly sex with my wife."
Oh, honestly, it's so refreshing.
He's just publicly put that out.
Self-deprecation is like
so
that's a dude that should be writing for somebody.
Yeah, that is genius. So
That's pure
Keith,
gold.
if you're still part of the community, I hope you are. I need to check that. And if by some long shot you now listen to the podcast, you are a hero among men, and we appreciate you.
I'd like to put that on a plaque in my office.
I'll have to send it to you guys. It's just like,
That's
it's so
classic.
funny as juxtaposition with the actual serious graphic. And
Does it have a lot of
that's
likes
good.
and laughs and stuff?
Going back to
I think
our
so. I
episode.
screen grabbed it as soon as it went up, so I need to go and check the original actual post. But it's just, yeah, I'm going to send it to you guys. Anyway, sadly, something you're truly terrible at but enjoy doing.
Oh, all of us.
Shame is
all of
my
us.
wife. Oh, hell.
Bless them.
Sorry.
You could make a feed or a YouTube channel just on stuff that, you know, keeping it clean, stuff you enjoy but you're bad at. And you go like the alternative to like Bob Ross, you know, the
Yeah,
who makes these amazing photos by just slapping paint on it. It's like an amazing scene. You could just like
You
slap
could like
paint on.
interview people and like show pictures of them that are all really professional with like just like a big turd of work behind them that they did, and just be like going to an in-depth interview about their process. I would totally watch that, and I could be on that. There's so many things.
I would watch that too. It'd be
could
like
make-
a whimsical Humans of New York
Yeah.
kind of thing.
You could do a whole thing of
Inept
just,
people of New York.
just like, I'm rubbish. I'm going to go and see what other rubbish people I can find.
You could put me on for mowing lawns. I enjoy mowing lawns. I don't know why. When I'm done, it looks like a 5-year-old mowed the lawn.
But
It's
you might
all-
end up getting
it's all-
work.
I can't keep straight lines. Like there's gaps of like grass. sticking
That
out.
was so funny. Right, done. We get so many ideas on the show. If only we went and did them all. Anyway, closing. This has been an episode of tangents. This is what happens when
Yeah.
you come back, Dustin.
Sorry, guys.
Apologies, listeners. We will be more focused in future.
We need to end on a quote like I have done for the past 3 weeks.
Yes.
All right, let's end on a quote. Shall we throw a quick 2 cents into the jar? Super quick one-liner about targeting likes and peers versus targeting clients. My one is going to be the work out what you actually want and why, and then make sure your strategy, your content, and your work shifts towards actually achieving that. So just be a bit more thoughtful.
You could say like, find your target and aim at it. So like, I was just thinking,
I like it. I love
It's
it now.
too
We've had
close to
we've had a
the
couple of
Facebook.
spontaneous quotes, and now we're trying to work them in. I'm doing it earlier. I come up with an idea, and instead of just saying it out loud, I was like, "How do I word that?
Okay,
How do I
I've
make
got a
that sound
dirty
really
mind.
eloquent?" Oh, go on, Lisa. What's yours?
Well, mine's going to be along the vein of what I was saying early on. I don't think that you should stress so much about it. I think just keep creating and putting stuff out there that you want to be doing for clients, and it should mean that you're going to end up getting the work. But yeah, I don't know.
So in a way, stress less. create more.
Stress less, create more.
We're going to do the whole episode in Instagram quote format,
Oh my God.
quote cards. But
Please don't.
ironically, when we're preaching, they don't matter. Dustin?
I think this is not poetic, but who you focus on helping is where you're going to find the rewards.
Who you focus on helping? Yes.
So if you're focusing on helping or sharing things with designers, you're going to have a bunch of designers following you and liking you. If you focus on helping and sharing things for your potential clients, opportunities are going to grow from that.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Definitely.
I guess it's like driving a car, right? Wherever you're looking is where you go.
Yes. Generally, unless you're a really, really bad driver.
I suppose I should have brought this up earlier, but I just have a question. Do clients really hang out on Instagram and follow people that they want to potentially work with?
No.
Or do clients look through feeds to see if they want to...
I've never worked... I don't think I've ever worked with a brand other than like, I suppose... even with like, I suppose, working with like Adobe use branding like agencies to help them to do the stuff they want to partner with.
Yeah.
Most of them have been the fact that one designer from that company that does the agency. So there's always an agency in between you and the brand, however big that may be. And then they get you on as, you're an illustrator or you're a letterer or whatever you may be. And it's one of those designers, it's one of those, it might be the art director, it might be the designer, it might be the account manager. One of those people's there who says, oh, what about, and they put in the mix, what about Lisa? She's really good at doing illustration. She could be really good at this project. And so I don't know about the brands. And it may be the case that someone from a brand is on Instagram and they really like our stuff and they say, could we have this person on the project? But it's normally a lot more disconnected.
I do want to end on a note trying to include everyone though, because I think, yes, if it's like big companies with brand agencies, etc. I know a couple of people who've asked this question. We're trying to do stuff like sell artwork to individuals.
Oh, right. Okay, but then that's a different thing.
Yeah. So in that case, like say you're doing lettering, but you're trying to target new mums who want nice lettered stuff for their babies, or people in the wedding industry or whatever. You can do what Dustin said, which is basically think about the people you're trying to help and then target what you're doing around them. Like that's so doable. Like just have them in mind, actually think about the person you're delivering it to, put yourself in their shoes, and then the content will come, which is going to be right for them. And as I said, just be a bit more thoughtful about it. Don't just churn it out for the sake of it. Certainly don't churn it out with likes in mind. Because if you're trying to target likes, you will design for likes as if they were a person. Don't think about designing for a person, your ideal client.
Yeah.
What you're designing for is a comment that says either take my money when you said, here, I've got this for sale, or I've just bought it. And, that's what you're trying to get. So say it was for mums of newborns, look at where they're buying stuff or research into where they're buying stuff. So it might be on Etsy. It might be on, there's one in the UK called Not on the High Street. Go on there, see what's the most popular stuff, see what they're buying there, and then transfer and think, okay, how can I make some content? How can I make some actual products itself that I can then sell on my shop?
Yeah. So let's say you do like kids' wooden building blocks with different words on. If you're selling them, you could show them on a kids' room bookshelf, and you arrange them to create cool messages, which you put on Instagram, for example.
What would be really good would be doing those ones where you do like a funny quote, but with those building blocks, because then that would be a shareable bit of content as well. So something like I long to go where the Wi-Fi is weak, or something like that. Those sort of things.
Yeah. Exactly. So you can do both. You can like target the shareability for reach, but you can get the client angle in there too. So they're not mutually exclusive. And you just got to be creative and see the angles of how to do it. So go listen if you want ideas on this. Go listen to I think it's 4-part social media quadrilogy or whatever you call them, for some more content ideas. But yeah, thank you so much for listening in this week. As I say, wonderful to have Dustin back. I promise we will try and be more focused next time. Slap on the wrist for all of us.
We say that at the end of everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but we missed our main man, so we had to have a chat with him as well. But yeah, hopefully that's kind of put everyone listening at home in a better headspace about this stuff, stressing about it less, and just if you want to go build an actual business, go build it. Anyway, that's it from us. We'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. We hope that you're feeling much more clear on how to attract the people you really want. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com or find us over on iTunes and now Spotify by searching for The Honest Designers Show. And remember, we're now on social media too, if you search for Honest Designers. If today's episode helped you, then it will of course mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.